Exit, Voice, and Loyalty was a book written by economist Albert Hirschman in 1970. And in it, he's discussing the potential responses that people can have to declining services provided by corporations, firms, brands, or even government states. So he says that basically people have three potential responses to this scenario. They can choose to exit, which in the case of a corporation is to stop using that corporation's products, or in the case of a society is very simply to leave that society if the society, the government is the cause of the frustration. They can choose to voice. This is to take action. This is to voice their opinion of the decline in quality of services of the corporation, or to voice their opposition to a government. Or loyalty. They can remain loyal. This is essentially doing nothing, keeping their mouths shut, and just silently accepting the decline in service or the oppressive state created by a government. So they can exit, voice, or loyalty. Theorists of social movement have adopted this framework and applied it to people's responses to oppressive situations in a society. This is a quote from Charles Tilly, who is a prominent sociological theorist of social movement. He says, "The model of a simple price system often applies poorly to collective action, since the costs of exit are frequently too high. When the government is corrupt, most actors have to choose between stating their opposition and suffering in silence, between voice and loyalty. However, Hirschman argues voice is at its most effective when exit is possible, and therefore a realistic threat, but not so easy that people rush away as soon as performance declines. Voice then carries the threat of exit. A modicum of loyalty, of reluctance to leave, strengthens the corrective effect of voice." So here Tilly is discussing the complexities when we apply this framework to social movement and the actions, the behaviors of people, and how these three things interact with one another. For example, voice is more effective when exit is possible and somewhat easy, because those in power are more willing to concede to the demands of resistance when they know that the citizens could simply leave at any time. If exit is impossible for some reason, voice might be more likely, but it's nearly totally ineffective. That is, those in power are not going to listen to the dissenters if they know that the dissenters cannot leave and have no choice but to suffer through whatever the social conditions are. If exit is too easy, then usually no one will even bother voicing opposition. They'll just simply choose the exit option and leave the society, leave the oppressive situation. But if, in addition, some loyalty is required to voice opposition. Without any loyalty, everyone would simply just leave if you weren't at all loyal to the state in which you lived, the government, etc. If there's no loyalty, but also no possibility of exit, so that means you're not loyal to the state at all, but you can't leave for whatever reasons, then people usually will just suffer in silence and choose to have no voice at all. That is, to not voice their dissent and their opposition. With absolute loyalty, opposition will never be voiced. Everyone will just suffer in silence and suffer through the degrading conditions, whatever those might be. So according to this framework, very simply, the ideal climate for social change in a society is a society in which social or material conditions are such that people are not happy for some reason, so there's some sense of frustration. The members of the society have some amount of loyalty that is not too extreme. Exit is a possibility, but not too easy. Of course, in the context of social movement, we're concerned with those that have chosen to voice their opposition to a government, a state, to the elite, to some sort of oppressive institutions in their society. So in social movement, we're focused on those that chose the option of voice.